Thank you everyone for joining me this afternoon. This is the Human-Centered Leadership webinar. I'm Gabby Hartin. I'm the CEO and the founder of Higher Curve, and we are all about humans, and everything that we do is human-centered. So let me share some of that with you today. In particular, I'm going to take you through the human-centered leadership approach that we have here at Higher Curve, and you might want to keep your eye out for some of these. So we'll cover targeting potential in your teams to build well-being and productivity, 11 human traits that the world, your organisation and your teams need, and actually all of us as individuals right now, especially during these times. 3 mistakes too many leaders are making right now that's killing engagement. And then a simple formula for leading in these new times. I will share that with you, plus a whole lot of other things in our human-centered leadership approach. So that was the chat room. If you missed that before, feel free to jump in and share some information about yourself. We always have some interesting arm's length objects. I have had live puppies held up to the camera and shared. I've got my cat. He's right there sharing the space with me this afternoon. We've had, what else have we had? We've had herbal tea. We've had bottles of scotch, little model motorcycles. We've had the lot. So always interested to find out about your arm's length. Okay, I would like to start with a little story that hopefully sets the scene for you in regards to our current times that we're dealing with here with COVID and what we're all about here at Higher Curve. Okay, let's move on. That's setting the scene for you in particularly during these times, but of course, as that story said, once this crisis is over, the next one's right behind it. And so this approach, this human-centered leadership approach around supporting and developing people is critical for these times. Now, who is this webinar for? Typically, people who are interested in this information, you may be a senior manager or an executive, normally sitting within the HR, people and culture, learning and development, talent management, talent acquisition space. You may be a functional manager, meaning that you are managing your own team in any function within the business. You may be a consultant or a coach, independent. Maybe you're running your own business, or you might be embedded within an organisation. Again, typically within the people capability space, but maybe within IT. We have a partner firm, Tactic Consulting, who are right in the IT space, but very, very keen on the human-centred approach. And so we have a number of IT senior leaders interested in this as well. Or you may be an individual with the growth mindset, always looking to continue to develop yourself. Now, people are interested in this content for some different reasons. So you may be looking to develop your leadership management teams, and it might be you as an employee within the organisation looking to develop your leaders and your managers. Or if you're an independent consultant coach, then working with your clients in this space. You may be looking to gain more skills around how you can develop or better develop your team members whilst you do your job of leading and managing. Maybe you're interested in teaching this approach to others, and that's certainly something that is coming. And again, maybe you're interested in self-development, so there can be some crossover there. Now, let's just have a think for a minute about the cost to business in this space. Costs of workplace impacts on mental health and well-being. Now, these statistics come from the Australian Productivity Commission Mental Health Inquiry draft report. So this is $13 to $17 billion cost to Australian businesses over a 12-month period. And these are estimates based on the cost of absenteeism and presenteeism. And presenteeism means that you are turning up for work, but due to your ill health, your ill mental health, your well-being, you're not working at full capacity. When we look at workers' compensation claims, insurance claims here in Australia, typically a mental health claim will cost anywhere up to $25,000, whereas a non-mental health claim sits at about $10,000. So a lot more expensive dealing with the mental health claims. Now, when we think about the cost of disengagement and turnover, these statistics come from the Australian Human Resource Institute and business.vic.gov.au. And when we look at a company with 100 employees and we put in the 18% average turnover rate, which is what the Australian Human Resource Institute has found, if you're losing employees sitting at about a $60,000 salary, you're looking at that figure there, about $346,000 cost to the business to replace those people. And if you just tweak one of those, so if we're looking now at people sitting at about close to a $90,000 salary, that cost to the business jumps up very quickly, right up to $500,000. So a lot of costs involved when businesses are not managing their leaders and their managers and not looking after the well-being and mental health of their people. So we see that there is an urgent need around this, and it's our mission to eradicate what we call destructive leadership styles and address the alarming statistics around employee well-being and mental health, high turnover and retention, and the resulting wastage of potential that happens. So some further research that sits behind this, again, the Australian Human Resource Institute's Turnover and Retention Report 2018, they found 63% of their respondents telling them that the reason they leave their jobs is due to a lack of career progression. Lack of learning and development is another reason for leaving. And in fact, that was up 15% from 3 years prior when they surveyed. So this need for growth and development and continual growth and development is important to people and becoming more so. And people are leaving if they're not getting it. On the flip side, this research did find 70% of respondents said they will stay due to good managers and good leaders. Similar results over in the US with a Gallup poll, 75% of their respondents saying that the number one reason that they quit their jobs is due to bad bosses, which is what they call them. MIT Sloan, also in the US, their research found that organisations have a number of blind spots around leadership norms that they're holding on to. Outdated leadership norms now, like command and control, that are not working, no longer working, and having damaging effects. And then we also draw quite heavily on the World Economic Forum's Future of Jobs report 2018, and they came up with what they call the top trending skills. That forms a larger base for our approach, and I'll share a bit more with you as we go through. So I did promise you a game. It's game on. This is the plugged in version. Funnily enough, before COVID, it was the unplugged version. And I was meeting with people and we were playing the game in real life, and you get a little bag of potential and you get your game cards and your big bowl of potential. And what we do is unpack this bag and see what's in here. So we're going to go to the plugged in version, and I'm going to take you through the human-centred leadership approach. This game board will give you a high-level overview of the key elements that we have in our curriculum. So I will take you through the 9-step methodology for Coach to Grow, but before I do that, I want to take you through the potential realised framework. But before I do that, I actually want to spend some time with you on potential and unpacking that with you so that you understand what we mean when we talk about potential within this approach. So there's some of those game pieces. Let's give it a go. We're going to start here with the first component of a potential that we're going to unpack. And this is what we call the conditions for and also the outcomes of happy and healthy people. So we start here with the psychological well-being base. Critically important. If you don't have this in place with people, you're not going to get much more out of them. So we start here and we teach leaders and managers how they can tap into these important elements and support their people's well-being. All right, let's get started with the game. There are points to be won. You can drop your answer in the chat room. For $200, what is the experience of health, happiness and prosperity, starting with WB, 2 words? Whoever gets it in the chat room first gets the money on the board. WB. The experience of health, happiness and prosperity. Any takers here for $200? I will give you a little bit longer. It is well-being. Well done. That's for Matthew. Yes, well-being. Good job. And for Charlotte. Okay, I give that to you as well. All right, $300. The ability to bounce back from challenges. We need a lot of this at the moment and getting lots of practice with it. Yes, it is resilience. Thank you, Matthew. And what's next? For $400, what is the level of connectedness one feels with the task at hand, fully absorbed and enthusiastic about it? This is a great place to be when you have this working and working well. Lots of variables that come into play, but leaders and managers have a great influence over this as well. Starting with the letter E, it is engagement. Well done, Kirk. For $500, what is expanding your mindset, knowledge, skills and abilities through development opportunities? Starting with the letter G, one of my all-time favourites. It is growth. Well done, Matt. Who else has got it? Yeah, okay, Matt came in first. There we go. For $600, what is your why? The ability to contribute and have a positive impact through meaningful work. Very important one. It is purpose. Well done, Kirk. And we've got another letter P here for $800. What is work effectiveness and quality? Some people may argue, oh, it's not performance, but hang on to that one. That why is it sitting here in the psychological well-being base? This is really important, and particularly now with COVID, with lockdown, with people losing their jobs, with business losing their work and activity. A lot of this has dropped away, and often you don't realise how important something is until it's gone. This one is productivity. And for the last letter P, your outputs and the efficiency in which tasks and goals are completed. First one back in the chat room. Matt did already have it there. I might have to give it to him. Yeah, well done, Matt. It is performance. Great job. Okay, first round done. So there are our first set of potential, our happy and healthy people. Let's jump into a poll. Now, if you go down to the bottom of your toolbar, you should see a little poll button there. I'm going to bring that up. Now, we've got a number of questions in the poll. We're only doing question number 1 at the moment, so don't look at the other questions for now. Let's get a feel for what people are thinking in the room. What would you say are your top 2? Now, this might be about yourself, what you think are the top 2 important traits here for you at the moment. Maybe it's more general. It's in regards to what do you think people in the workplace that you're involved with need to be developing and supporting. What are managers and leaders needing to focus in on most of all, if you had to pick 2? We're, of course, saying that they're all important. So just select your 2. Don't hit submit. It probably won't let you anyway because we've got other questions to go. So we'll come back to this a couple of times throughout, and then we'll have a look at the results at the end. Let's move on. I'm on screen. Okay, here we are back at the game board. Let's look at this second component of potential. And this is what we call the foundational base for unlocking the top trending skills 2022. Now, this comes from the World Economic Forum's Future of Jobs report. Very extensive research conducted in 2018. And what I really love about this report and this research is the ethos around supporting organisations to recognise human capital and potential as an asset rather than a liability. And of course, we people sitting in the people space, we already know that it's around encouraging everyone else within organisations to understand that importance. So it was very extensive research across 12 broad industry groups, over 100 countries, and 15 million employees in total across all of the companies that they researched. They were essentially speaking to CEOs and chief human resource officers and asking them what are the skills you need in your workforce and in your leadership moving into the immediate future. So they've capped it just to 2022 to try and capture what is it that organisations need. Now, they came out with the top 10 trending skills, and this was consistently across the board what organisations were telling them that they needed. Now, you would not be surprised to know that sitting in those top 10 are technology skills. Now, we've taken those out, not because they're not important, but because we're focusing on a human-centred approach. And I was thrilled to find that the majority of these top 10 are what we're calling the uniquely human traits. This is the stuff the machines can't do. And this is what's important. So let's get back into the game. For $200, starting with the letter I, what is the power of opportunity to act or take charge before others do and without being asked to? Put your answer back in the chat room. It is initiative, correct. Shalu, well done. What's next? Another letter I, to make changes or do something new or different. It is to innovate, Shalu, very quick. And one more for the letter I, the ability to form new ideas or concepts. The answer is in the clue there. Vin, it is ideation. That was very quick. In fact, I think that came in ahead of time. Yes, to ideate. What's that, $200? Thank you. Let's move on. For $300, what is the letter C? The use of imagination or original ideas to create something new, inventiveness. Again, the answer is there in the clue. It is creativity. Well done, Matt. That's some more money for you. There it is. Just checking my cat there. For $400, starting with the letter L, the art of motivating a group of people to act towards achieving a common goal. Of course, these are in no particular order. It is leadership. Well done, Matt. That is, I think Matt's racing ahead at the moment. Another one for the letter L. What is the acquisition of new mindsets, knowledge and skills? One of my all-time favourites. Very, very happy to see this. Yes, Kirk, up in the top 10. It is learning. For $500, what is the capacity to be aware of, express and manage or regulate one's emotions and to handle interpersonal relationships with empathy? This is a big one, and these are all over the shop a lot of the time. Yes, it is, Shalu. It's emotional intelligence. And what is the ability to think and act independently and creatively, bringing you to the table? Now, this one I like to put into a little subcategory with your innovation, your ideation, your creativity. This one starts with the letter O. This one came up in the top 10. And sometimes we need a lot of this, especially when we're stuck or we're at a roadblock, we can't find a way through. We need to tap into this uniquely human trait. I might count this one down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It is originality. For $600, what is the ability to modify and change your behaviour to meet the demands of the social environment? Some clues in there. It is social intelligence. Well done, Matt. All right, keeping score here. For $800, what is the objective analysis and evaluation of an issue using cognitive processes, making reasoned judgments that are logical and well thought out? I'm making you do a bit of this at the moment, not pressing you too hard. We could certainly ramp it up, but certainly make you using this rather than just sit passively and listen to me go on for too long. Shall I count this one down? It is 5, 4, 3, 2. Oh, very close, Arvind. It's actually critical thinking. But that was a good answer there. And last one, what is the process of finding solutions to difficult or complex problems? Needing to do a fair amount of this at the moment as well. When we come up across situations and environments where we don't even know what the answer is moving forward. It is problem solving, Shalu. Well done. And there we are at the end of the second round. Well done. I might give you a score check. I promise you it's all above board here. And let me tell you, we've got lots of different values there. It doesn't mean that some of these are more valuable than others. They are all equally valued. We're just putting in those values there to up the stakes, so to speak. So let me tell you, I think sitting in first place at the moment is Matt with $3,100 to Matt. Sitting in second place is Charlu at $1,900. And coming in third place is Kirk at $1,400. Well done, everybody, so far. There is a chance to earn a little bit more money coming up. So if you want to be in it, you might still be able to come through. All right, let's summarise those uniquely human traits. There they are, all there. Let's jump back into the poll. This time you can go to number 2. Again, what's your top 2? If you just had to pick 2, this can be a bit harder because there's 11 here altogether. Again, it might be reflecting what's important to you in your own self-development, or if you want to take it from a different perspective, that's fine. It's not a hard scientific poll at the moment. Maybe it's around what you think is important for managers and leaders to develop in their people. And of course, we always need to start with developing it in ourselves first, before we can start transferring it with our teams. All right, so just put in your top 2 there. Again, no need to submit at the moment. Just minimise that or take it back down again. And let's move on. All right, now there is, I take that little bag again, that little bag of potential's got all of those components in there, all very clearly labelled. But there's actually something else in that little bag, what we've got on the screen, that sits inside that bag of potential. Little tiny diamonds, we like to call these hidden gems. There's $1,000 up for grabs on this one. And the reason there's so much money is this one's more of an open-ended question, I guess. Yes, we've got some competitors in the room. So this is your interpretation. I'll share mine and Higher Curve's interpretation with you in a minute. But what do you think this means? We've got all of those other areas of potential clearly labelled. This one's not. What are the hidden gems when we're talking about tapping into people's potential? You can put that back in the chat room, what your interpretation of that would be. And this, in a sense, is the stuff that we haven't been able to clearly label. And there's a reason for that. I'll just give you a minute to see if there's anything coming into the chat room. And of course, any contributions can earn that prize money. Arvind, absolutely unutilised potential. Yes, thank you, Arvind. Arvind gets the money. Any other interpretations there? How you might describe these hidden gems? What that might look like? Blind spots, that's an interesting one. If we had a bit more time, I might get you to unpack that a little bit for us and tell us what you mean. We'll leave it at that for now, but that certainly has earned you some money there, Charlou. This is what we like to think of the hidden gems simply as the potential waiting to be discovered. And this is one of the greatest things about working to help people develop their potential. It's the stuff inside that we don't even know about yet. And it might be your own potential that you're not aware of, or when you're working with others and you're coaching and managing and leading, it's something that you're not even aware of that you can see in someone else. And great leaders and great managers are able to do that. Great teachers, great parents, when they're working with their children or their team members, they're able to spot something inside someone else as a hidden potential and then start to draw it out. And I think our COVID environment at the moment is another good example, because often when we are forced into a corner through adversity, we have to dig deep, and we come out the other end realising that I didn't think I had the potential to do that or to cope with that terrible situation. And that's another great thing that can come out of those difficult situations like COVID, the hidden potential inside, something that you thought you couldn't do, all of a sudden you're doing. So that's our final component. There we have it. I have unpacked all of that potential for you, just at that high level. And so that's what we mean when we talk about potential, and that's what we teach. We teach you as managers and leaders how you can tap into all of these different elements throughout your day-to-day managing and leading approach, and start to draw this out of your people. All right, let's move on. I'll now take you through the Potential Realised framework. And another name for this is the Autonomy Support Matrix, because we have this axis here stands for autonomy, and this one stands for support. So what I'm going to do is take you through each of these quadrants, and I'm going to describe a leadership or a management style or an approach based on what's happening in regards to autonomy and support. So let's start here. We have an approach here where low levels of autonomy are given out and high levels of support. And I will tell you that when this is taken to the extreme in terms of the support, it's often not the right kind of support. It can be inappropriate, it can be too much, it can be given out at the wrong time. Often it's the manager or the leader who's dictating what they think the support is that their people need, and they're giving it out and saying, there you go, use this support, this is what I'm giving you. And so it can often end up becoming destructive. I wonder what you might call this type of an approach. We call this the micromanaging approach. Let me tell you a little bit about this. Micromanaging ignores human potential. It's the ultimate in command and control. For those on the receiving end, it's demoralising and it's counterintuitive. For those dishing it out, it's exhausting and unfulfilling. It's an approach that isn't scalable. When you micromanage, you're saying you don't trust people to make their own decisions, solve their own problems, or produce great results. Autonomy is stripped away and people are left to drown in the sea of procedures, processes, and checkpoints. That's what we call micromanaging. Let's move over into this quadrant. This one's a close cousin of the micromanager. So what we've got happening here is low levels of autonomy and low levels of support being delivered out under this sort of an approach. I wonder what you might call this one. Or maybe you're thinking about an experience that you've had working under a leader or a manager who worked in this way, and how it felt. We like to call this one the power hoarding approach. And coaching to grow certainly isn't power hoarding. Power hoarding stifles human potential. It's the ultimate in secrecy and exclusion. For those on the receiving end, it's demeaning, disempowering, and isolating. For those dishing it out, it's all-consuming and it can be lonely. When left unchecked, It overruns all in its path, ruining its host and everyone associated with it. Power hoarding leaders don't give their people visibility into the present, let alone the future, nor autonomy over contributing to the shaping of that present and future. They hoard whatever information and ideas they acquire, and they dole it out in tiny doses and only when they see fit. That's what we call power hoarding. Let's move on. So top left quadrant, we have got low levels of support and we've got high levels of autonomy. Now, this one can feel like a bit of a holiday to begin with. It's like, woohoo, nobody's paying any attention, nobody's checking in, I can do what I want. It can be okay to start with, but actually as this continues, and again, when it's taken to the extreme, this can be very, very debilitating and very destructive to work under. We call this one the missing in action leadership approach. Let me tell you a little bit about that one. Missing in action leaders waste human potential. It's the ultimate in negligence and inattention. For those on the receiving end, it's soul destroying and alienating. For those dishing it out, it's destructive and it's unfulfilling. By its very nature, absentee leaders are silent organisation killers. Being ignored by one's manager can be more alienating than being treated poorly. It's the leader who doesn't know how to lead, doesn't care, or simply won't make the time for it. Cancelled meetings, unanswered emails, zero feedback, absolutely no check-ins. The offences range from annoying to stunting, and it can border on bullying. That's what we call missing in action. Now, I have taken you through that dark journey, a quick one, I have to say, through the three quadrants. This is what we call the destructive leadership styles. Now, I've taken you through those quadrants not to label people, not to blame, not to shame, not to judge people. We do it in the spirit of understanding the importance of being aware of these destructive approaches, because we can all have these tendencies and we can all slip into these approaches if we're not careful. And often managers and leaders who are under a great deal of stress and pressure, that can be the reason why we can fall into these traps. So the other reason we work through these quadrants first is when we have a better understanding of these destructive approaches and what they look like and how we can avoid them. It helps us to more effectively move over here into the top right quadrant. This is where we want to be. And this is what we call our human-centered leadership quadrant. And this is the leader or the manager who's using the right levels of autonomy balanced with the right levels of support. And they understand that it's not a one-size-fits-all, it's not a silver bullet or a magic approach. It's very much a shifting approach, and it's shifting the levels of autonomy and support for each individual, for each team, depending on the context and the environment. And so that's our autonomy support matrix. And as a timely reminder, the evidence is telling us that these three destructive leadership styles, the ramifications when we don't address these issues. And a lot of the time, these destructive leadership styles are left to fester within an organisation. And especially now during COVID, when we have people under great deals of stress and anxiety, it's even more important that we stay on top of these approaches and that we help leaders and managers work in that top right quadrant. All right, let's move on. Let's go back into the poll. Let's find out what you think about those destructive styles. So number 3, which one of these concerns you the most? I did make it multiple choice. Couldn't help myself, sorry. Sometimes it's too hard to pick one. And look, I'll put my hand up here and let you know that when I was a kid, with my older brother and sister and my younger brother, I was the boss of the board games at home, and we had lots of board games and loved to play them. And I was in charge and I had to look after all the pieces and nobody else was allowed to touch them. So I have this tendency to be a micromanager and have had it since childhood. So I know I need to be aware of that one in particular. And when I'm under stress, I can quickly fall back into that approach if I'm not staying on top of things. So it might be about yourself or it might be about managers and leaders that you have experience with. Okay, pop that poll back down. Just minimise that one again. We've got one more question to go, which we'll get to in a minute. Let's move on. Just a little bit more about this quadrant. Obviously, in our training, we spend a lot of time in all the quadrants and we spend a lot of time here as well. And we unpack what autonomy and support means in more detail. Just to give you a high level here, we like to classify autonomy as freedom within a framework. So it's not about giving people complete autonomy. That doesn't work either. It's about creating the framework and the guidelines that people need to work within, and then that's giving people accountability. But then once you've set that up, it's about giving people freedom within that. And I think I'm going to sneeze. Nope. All right, save that one. We like to think of support as a resource-rich environment. So it's around creating an environment full of resources that people need, and then leaving those resources there and letting people go and get them as they need them. All right. So we are almost finished. We've gone through most of the game board. We've got our psychological well-being. We've got our uniquely human traits, 11 of them there. We've got the hidden gems of potential. And now we've got those 4 quadrants, the 3 mistakes that leaders and managers are making. And the top right quadrant. Okay, let's finish off with a quick overview of the 9-step methodology of Coach to Grow. So this again is what human-centered leaders do in this approach. Build the relationship, set the scene, relinquish control, 2-way feedback, focus on strengths, human skills, balance productivity and growth, change your perspective, and unlock potential. Sometimes it works to work through those steps in that sequence, but not all of the time. Often it can be different sequences, things are happening all together and different approaches. So that's the methodology that we use, and we actually teach our approach in the same way that we want leaders and managers to lead and to manage. So within the autonomy support matrix there. So that's the framework that we give you. We don't dictate that to you. We don't say that you must follow it to the letter, because that doesn't work. We give you the framework and then we allow you the freedom to make that work in your context with your people. And we provide you with a rich resource-rich environment when we're teaching this approach, and give you all the support that you need so that you can apply these skills and make them work for you. All right, there you have it, the human-centered leadership approach. Through all those elements of the game board, we have now finished that high-level overview. And as I said at the start, this forms the basis of our curriculum when we teach this program. So let's go back into the poll. We've got one final question. It would be great to get an idea of where you think you're sitting at the moment with this approach, and you think about all of those things that a human-centered leader manager does. Where are you sitting in your ability to unlock all of those elements of potential, the psychological well-being, the 11 human traits, the hidden gems? Also put into this equation those destructive leadership styles. Are they in check? with you? Are some of them a little bit out of control, creeping out in your approach? And then build into that as well, while you're doing all of that, how are you in regards to your own productivity? And are you able to do your own great work while you lead and while you manage? And again, those command and control approaches often don't leave people with any time to get on with their own great work. Where do you think you sit at the moment? Pick your answer there. Is everyone done? I shall reveal the results. 4 or 5. I'll just give it a little bit longer. I think we've got some people still making some decisions. Is there may be, according to what I'm looking at, there's still one person left to vote. All right. Okay. Ending the poll now. And let's have a look at the results. Those results should be up on your screen now. Wow, that's really interesting. Wellbeing, very, very strong in front, and I would agree with that. Wellbeing is certainly taking a hit, something we need to be taking care of. Number 2, uniquely human traits, leadership. Wow, that's a really strong result as well. Absolutely, very important. Got some other ones in there. Initiative and innovation, emotional intelligence, typically polls very strongly across these webinars as well. Destructive leadership styles, okay, that's interesting too. Micromanaging and power hoarding coming in equal. Typically we get a lot of votes on micromanaging. Those two are very closely related. And then rating your human-centered leadership level at the moment, that's great news. We've got people sitting about 50 to 75%, always room for improvement. That's great. Thank you for those poll results. All right, let's finish up. Let me just tell you about a couple of programs that we have. So at the Coach to Grow, this is what I've essentially taken you through. This is our human-centered leadership approach. We do deliver it face-to-face. We also deliver it online, very interactive, experiential, live facilitation sessions like you've got here. Delivered over 4 weeks. We can bring this into an organisation, deliver it in-house for a team, and when we do that, we can customise the program if you would like. You can also, after you've completed the course, purchase a post-program coaching package where we coach you as you take it back into your work environment for greater embedding and applying those skills. Now, normally that is a $2,400 program. At the moment, we've got a COVID offer. If you're interested, we will run a public course when we've got enough numbers. So if you're interested in that, just drop me a line. I will share this info with you via email, so you can certainly reply back then. And I just thought I'd share this one with you as well. You may have noticed throughout the presentation there's a number of hand-drawn images. This is one of them here, and this is something else that I do, graphic recording and visual facilitation. So I actually teach this as a course as well. So you may be interested in that one. This is also a face-to-face, in-person program, but I do teach it online. You get your pack of all the equipment that you need in the mail so that you're ready to go. So that's typically over a 3-week period. And again, a post-program coaching package to help you develop those visual skills. Now that's normally $1,200, and at the moment we've got a COVID special there as well if you're interested. All right, that's enough of that. I'm also offering, if maybe one of those programs is not right for you at the moment and you're thinking about something a little more open-ended, happy to offer a free 20-minute strategy session with you, and we can just sit and have a chat in regards to, it might be your own development or it might be something that you're looking to achieve within your organisation within this space. Happy to have a chat with you and share my expertise in helping you with those needs that you have. So there'll be information in the follow-up email for that one. So we are pretty much finished. If there's any questions, you can hang around afterwards if you like. Pop your questions in the chat room or turn your audio on and we can have a chat now. I'm happy to stick around. I would ask you one question. Would you provide me with feedback? That would be most appreciated. You can put that in the chat room as well. Something that you loved about the presentation today, something that you learned, what's stuck in your mind from this approach, and a tip for improvement. If you think there is something that could be improved with this presentation, I would be happy to hear that as well. Always looking to make things better. That did go through a lot of information there, very high level, but would be great to get your feedback. And all I have left to say is thank you.